So let's get started. What is metabolic health? It's going to be so important to know this. The chemistry of your life aren't behaving perfectly. You have a poor diet, you're overweight, maybe you're not getting enough sleep, maybe you're stressed, maybe you're smoking. Those are poor lifestyle choices that usually then reflect on those dashboard markers that we look at. Safety portion of the study that looked at metabolic biomarkers showed a huge improvement, much more than we would expect. In fact, and so, you would wonder why. So here's just sort of an outline of some of the study I'll share again later. The bacteria, the healthy bacteria increased in number, and the unhealthy bacteria in the GI tract decreased. And, here, for example, is an indicator of blood glucose control. And these folks went from sort of a high normal to a healthy normal, like really good. People don't often get enough of these anthocyanins. So look in Australia, guys, we're not doing so good down here in Australia. This is your mean intake of anthocyanins in milligrams per day. And you can see it's pretty close to zero in Australia. China's doing a little bit better, if you can see there, about 25 milligrams per day. And in fact, the Chinese government has now an RDA, or recommended daily allowance, for these, a level of about 80. So they're starting to recognize the importance. France doing pretty good. But the target dose, we feel, based on all of the best studies, should be around over 200 milligrams a day. So we started to look at the literature and see, well, are there other studies showing that anthocyanins impact metabolic health? And indeed, we did find lots of studies that showed that, for example, an anthocyanin-rich diet increases fatty acid oxidation. That's good. Insulin sensitivity. These are indicators of metabolic health. Glucose uptake and carbohydrate metabolism, the muscle was up. This is good, right? This is now, your dashboard is good. There aren't any red lights on it yet. The pancreas, beta cell function, blood lipids down. This is great. And the liver also, all positive signs. So now when you have a metabolically healthy choice, in this case, it's exercise, you will see that these markers in the liver, the fat tissue, the skeletal muscle, the pancreas, they're all going the right direction. So imagine someone who is not making healthy choices, then they would have low levels of this first one in the liver, CPT1A. You don't need to know what it is. It's an enzyme that catalyzes a particular reaction in the body that is healthy, represents healthy metabolism. And so when you make a healthy choice, it goes from low to higher. For, let's say, oxidative stress in the liver, it goes from high to low if you have a metabolically healthy choice. So I wanted to compare that with individuals from lots of studies that are having a diet that is rich in anthocyanins. And if it's good, it should look like these metabolically healthy choices. And so you can see here from the heat map that not everything is the same, but boy, it looks a lot like these people are making healthy choices. And the only difference is these folks are having a diet that is rich in these anthocyanins, more along the two, those plants that were richest in anthocyanins, but also the ones that were most potent. Let me share with you how we found the most potent. Your cells, and especially your immune cells, even get a whiff of those nasty endotoxins, then it will absolutely disrupt your metabolism. They cause all sorts of inflammatory reactions, and this is one of the major reasons why our metabolic systems start to go awry. This is so this is a great area to target. So we're finding then that the cyanidin, the delphinidin, are helping to protect and to make sure that that cell wall in the GI tract is nice and tight. We did more studies that showed protection of the GI tract, and you can see here in the black, a high-fat diet causes more of these endotoxins to get through. But if you add anthocyanins, you're more like the control. It's causing the cells of the GI tract to be much more healthy. And one of the ways that it does that is that apparently the anthocyanins help feed the friendly bacteria, and their metabolism actually releases these short-chain fatty acids that are the main energy source for these cells that line the GI tract. It keeps them healthy, keeps them plump, and gives them nice tight junctions so that two tennis court sort of surface area keeps all the bad stuff out and prevents the body from becoming inflamed and affecting the biochemistry of the body. Here's liver health. You see on the left here, this is the control. This is a healthy liver. If you see in this one in the middle, lots of white dots, that means that fat is accumulating in the liver, in the, between those cells. And this is an unhealthy sort of high fat diet sort of liver. Now you can feed a high fat diet, but as long as you have anthocyanins here, you can see an amazing protective effect. This looks more like the controls. So the knock-on effect of having a healthy microbiome and a nice, tight, healthy GI tract is huge for the body's overall health. This is the study that I described earlier. And here's another study. So this was actually on healthy college students. And we wanted to see how quickly you can get an effect of healthy anthocyanins in the diet. So this was one bad meal, like a meal where they were forced to eat like a bunch of these nasty hamburgers. It was really hard to finish, really high fat, very unhealthy, a lot of sugar in it. And what we showed was these are the plasma endotoxins, right? So these are the nasty things that are on the bad side of the gut, and measuring how much gets through into the blood. And we see that with the placebo, this big black box means that a lot of these endotoxins got through. But when with this one meal, also anthocyanins were fed to these college students, there was a huge protective effect. And the amount of the endotoxins that got through was much lower. This is a little bit like that resilience chart that I showed you earlier. So doing a glucose tolerance type of test, we see in the presence of anthocyanins, a much faster recovery. That shows really good, resilient metabolic health right there. So then, to summarize, we discovered the right, most potent sort of forms of anthocyanins and the right sources. We did a bunch of studies and showed that they bolster metabolic health in terms of, all those metabolic biomarkers that we talked about, only not just the dashboard of the car, but, more like the 747 dashboard. We see that the mechanism of action is the microflora are healthy. And so then they impact the nice tight junctions of the GI tract, and they prevent the immune cell from being upset and then affecting the entire body's metabolism. And showed that then supports the metabolic health. As I mentioned when I started, this is a fairly new area. Other people are starting to notice, but we have already done 5 studies that have been published in this area. We are off to an amazing start in helping people to understand the importance of metabolic health. Now, I asked right up front, how is your metabolic health, right? So here's the test for you. How do you know how your metabolic health is? Well, it's through looking at the biomarkers of metabolic health, right? How can you tell? Sometimes it's how you feel, but a lot of it's invisible. So you have to look at that dashboard. And so why do we care? Well, maybe that's a whole nother talk, but let's just say if you're in your car and some of those lights are on the dash that say your car needs attention, you may be able to drive it for a while. But if you don't pay attention to those things, you can almost guarantee that you're going to have to pull off to the side of the road before you reach your destination. And we're talking about life and the sources of good health. So I would call my destination meaning living to a good ripe age and having good health all the days of my life. That's the destination that I want. And if we don't take care of these dashboard lights, the dashboard lights of healthy metabolism, we may be pulling up to the side of the road faster than we thought. So, the mechanisms that I talked about are inflammatory balance, the microbiome and the gut health, and also these anthocyanins are very important antioxidants. And the results are they affect your immunity in a very healthy way. That means you don't have an overactive immune system that is upsetting your metabolism. And in the same sort of mechanism, you're actually protecting all of the vital organs, your cardiovascular health, your liver, as I already demonstrated, and these other things.
How many years of research went into Age-Lock Meta?
Yes, so we have been, we first started getting interested and started our first study 7 years ago. So, this is kind of typical, we do a lot of sort of groundbreaking research, and we are looking for things that really make a difference in human health. And those kinds of things, like, sure, we could just say, well, vitamins are hot right now, or, antioxidants are still hot, so let's make a new antioxidant. But the kinds of things that can really make an impact, we've done some of those studies, right? When we looked at antioxidants, we did more than just look at antioxidants. We found the biophotonic scanner that helps measure non-invasively in the skin. It'd be a substrate for the bacteria, the healthy bacteria that line the GI tract. And so they break that down, and that's food for them. Some of those biomolecules are probably also getting into the body and having other sort of antioxidant and other effects. But in general, what you're doing is you're bolstering the health of your GI tract.